Welcome to this edition of Go Vote Omaha, presented by the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha. I am Cindy Glissman, co-president of the League of Women Voters Greater Omaha, here with Chris Crithers, Chief Deputy of the Election Commission of Douglas County, for today's program on the upcoming elections. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization and does not endorse political candidates or parties. The League does, however, take positions on issues. Our purpose is to empower voters and defend democracy. Go Vote Omaha primarily focuses on policy issues, and as a result of our discussions, we hope you will feel ready to make our informed decisions at election time. Today, we are talking about the upcoming elections and all you need to know to be ready. We will be going over a redistricting update and how it will affect polling places. We will also be talking about vote by mail and more on the safety of our elections. We are just a couple of months out from the primary election on May 10th, and Chief Deputy Election Commissioner of Douglas County, Chris Crithers, is here to tell us all we should know about the elections. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Cindy. Good to see you again.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
Well, we're so glad you're here tonight. Let's just jump right in and talk about redistricting and how it might affect where we vote this year. So as a result of the completion of the 2020 census, political boundaries were redrawn across the entire state, and we went through the redistricting process last year. So can you update us all on just where that process is right now in Douglas County?
It's 98% done.
Oh, wow.
Everyone, as of December 30th, this political subdivision set their boundary lines according to the precinct lines we had drawn. That was the first step, was the legislature setting the legislative lines. Then we had to set precincts, observing those lines. Then we gave all of the precincts to the political subdivisions. They got it back to us December 30th. We've gone through, we've ended up with 231 precincts.
Wow.
We'll have 212 different polling places, and of those 231 precincts, there are some with multiple ballots, so we have 349 ballots in the county due to redistricting.
So is that increase or decrease from our previous elections?
It's slightly fewer than previous because we were able to clean up some lines when we've had annexations.
Okay.
We'll take part of a section and we'll have a funny little shaped line.
Sure.
We're able to clean a lot of that up and make them more geometric, and just a few fewer. I think it was like 8, less than 10 fewer districts, but balance the size across the county. So
Great.
they're all, we try to get them all as close to the same size as possible.
Okay, great. Can you just step back and remind us how polling sites are selected? What's your goal and how you select those sites?
We try to keep them, if possible, within the precinct, if not within very close. The problem we run into is where our buildings. In western part of the county, there aren't large spaces where you can hold elections. We look a lot at schools and major churches out there, but in central east Omaha, they pretty much stay the same unless we've had a number. I think there are 12 that we're not able to be in. No, there are 12 new ones that we've not been in before. We're returning to 16 that have had various changes, didn't want us in because of COVID or something. There are a few that we're not going to be in that we have been in previously, about 18 because of remodeling, or for some reason they didn't want us this time because of COVID. But not a lot of changes if we can keep from it.
Well, that's a lot to keep track of and to organize and manage. So, which brings me to my next question. How, as a voter, am I going to know where my precinct is or if it's changed?
Well, as of this week, you can go onto our website, votedouglascounty.com, and on the home page, there's a voter lookup. You put your street number address in, like 222, and the zip code, and then it will bring up the option of streets that you might live on with that address, and you click the correct street, and it will give you a picture of your polling place. It'll tell you what precinct you're in. It will give you all of the races all of the political subdivisions that fall into your precinct, whether it's NRD or state legislature or everything from
Nice.
president to
Okay.
the smallest.
Very nice, very good. Great, great, great. Okay, let's switch topics and talk about vote by mail.
Okay.
So I had previously signed up to be on the permanent vote by mail list, and I received this postcard in the mail a couple of weeks ago. How many other people in Douglas County got this postcard, Chris?
Just 173,000.
173. How many voters are there in Douglas County?
300, it fluctuates
Yeah.
daily, but we're right around 360,000.
Okay, so over half.
Yeah, and that list, you have to have signed up for the
Right.
list, and 2018, we started the list. 2020, it was very popular, vote by mail with the pandemic, and the list grew from roughly 50,000 to 168,000.
Wow.
So it's been very
Quite a few.
popular.
Yeah, great, awesome. So if a person wanted to vote by mail, but they weren't on that permanent list or hadn't signed up for that and they didn't get one of these green postcards, how could that person vote by mail?
Again, you can go to our website and download a form that all you have to do is fill in your name, address, signature is the key, birth date to help find you in our voting list. If you can't get to the computer, I say you can do it on a cocktail napkin, and I had one former county commissioner prove it by writing it on a cocktail napkin, and we got him his ballot. You have to provide your name, your address, your birth date, that you want a ballot for the upcoming election. If you have another address, like if you're out of town in school or something, put the address you would like it mailed to, and then sign it. And the signature is the key for finding you with all the other information. And you can send that to us. You can mail it. You can drop it into one of the drop boxes around town, or you can email it to us. Take a photo of it and email it, or scan it, whatever works best for you.
Great, very good. And it tells me on this card also that it tells me how to get it back to you. I can, as you just said too, with the other procedure, I can just take this, fill it out, and take it to a Dropbox with no stamp. I could put it in the mail. It tells me when I need to get it there. I need to get it there by May 2nd to get my ballot mailed to my house.
Right.
Right, okay, so thank
And
you.
that deadline is solely because the post office speed, to ensure
Sure.
that we can get it out to you.
Excellent point.
And you can get it back to us.
Great, great.
But we also recommend using the Dropbox because we pick those up every day, and
Right.
there's no delay.
And I want to save myself a stamp anyway too, right?
Exactly.
Okay, right. So what other vote by mail tips do you have for us?
Well, we have on our website, we have the vote by mail top 10 tips. And they're basically follow the instructions on the ballot, use a blue or black ballpoint pen, use a return envelope provided for your ballot. That's the only way you can return it. Don't, if something happens to your envelope, come to our office. We'll replace the ballot and the envelope, but don't put it in a white envelope and think we can do it. It has to be the official return envelope. Main thing is to sign it, everyone. That's one of our biggest problems. People forget to sign it. You can't change your vote after you've returned it. Once you've turned it into us, even though it's not counted, we cannot pull it out of the stack and find out who it was. Return it to us by 8 p.m., the Election Commission, by 8 p.m. on Election Day, which for the primary is May 10th. You can return it by mail. You can use any of the Dropbox locations. They're all available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and no postage. You don't need to return, you can't return the ballot to a polling place. They don't have the resources to handle by mail or the early ballots. You would have to take it to a drop box at that point. But as long as you get it to the drop box by 8 o'clock, there'll be someone there at 8 to lock the box. If you make it by 8 or you're in line to get to the box by 8, same as polling place, it'll get in. All of the early voting ballots are counted and reported. In fact, it's usually the second number that we report on election night is the early ballots that we were able to count prior to the closing
Makes
of
sense.
the polling places. And if you have any questions, you can go to votedouglascounty.com or call us at 402-444-VOTE, which is 8683. And if you would like to have the vote by mail top 10 tips, they are available on our website. Just go to early voting, go to vote by mail, and there's a link there.
Excellent, excellent, great. So I cannot take, if I got a vote by mail ballot, I cannot take that to a polling place.
Right.
Right, okay, good. And so if I don't return this, I'm okay to vote at a polling place?
Yes.
Okay, good. And if a person doesn't want to vote by mail, is there a way for them to still vote early?
Yes. Starting, get my month straight here, April 11th, there will be in-person voting at the Election Commission, 120th and Center, the northwest corner of the northwest corner. We handled 900 voters a day in 2020. We're not expecting that many for the primary, but we'll be ready if they show up.
All right,
Hopefully
you always are. You
Hopefully we
always are.
won't fry a squirrel this election.
Oh dear. Oh yeah, the
The electricity went out.
Yes, the problem, yes. Okay, I do remember reading about that. Okay, well great. I think we covered a lot of things there, but they can always go to your website or call the election commissioner if they
Correct.
have other situations arise. Great, thank you. Okay, so now let's turn to another very popular topic these days, election safety, election security. So we have 93 counties in Nebraska, and they're all performing election duties, and they all want to be safe. Who trains all these counties on election security and safety?
The Secretary of State's office. We all work through the Secretary of State's office. Everything we do is controlled by state law. The Secretary of State's office has overseen getting the election equipment, especially the counting machines, for all of the counties. Douglas County, we have the largest machines, and the most of them, smaller counties, all have counting machines. They all do the same work. It's just a matter of scale and size. We're all trained. We all do the same functions. We all register voters the same way. It's a statewide voter registration database. Security-wise, there's nothing touches the internet, so no one's going to hack it or break in.
Okay.
Everything we do, we feel we've done for reasons of security, and we can explain how that works.
Okay, and you have a couple times.
A couple of times, especially this last year.
Okay, okay. What is the penalty for voter fraud in Nebraska?
Voter fraud is a penalty of up to $10,000 and or 2 years imprisonment and 12 months post confinement observation, where they'd be on
Okay.
parole after that.
Okay,
And that's per instance of voter fraud or misrepresentation on
Okay.
a registration or anything in that regard. So if
Okay.
someone were going to throw an election, say they had to do 100 illegal votes, they would be up for
100 counts.
fines
Yeah,
and
okay.
200 years in jail.
okay, okay, good to know. Okay, and so how many cases of voter fraud have been found in Nebraska?
It's very few. We have had a woman who's actually working for us temporarily now, who worked for us 25 years. She was an election manager. She was registration manager. She could recall 3 to 4 cases in those 25 years in Nebraska that were taken to trial.
Okay.
It just doesn't happen.
Right.
And we know when it does, and we check that every election.
Yeah, okay, yeah, well, let's talk about that, yeah, right. Can you walk us through the verification and security steps through the voter registration process and the voting processes that you
Okay,
oversee?
everything we do is dictated by the registration, and we do a very secure registration. Even if you register online, that's not in the database. Everything, whether it's a paper form or an online registration, is gone through by an election official, someone at our office or one of the other counties around the state, and line by line, that information is input into the voter file. We do verification. We find driver's license numbers. We make sure that person is who they say they are. You don't have to show us identification. It helps us if you provide identification numbers that are requested. But every step of the way is verified. Then voting, every ballot that we count has a corresponding signature, whether it's someone who voted in person at our office, someone who voted on election day at a polling place. They have to sign in at the poll book before they get their ballot. That is kept on file. If you request a ballot, you have to sign the request. When you send the ballot back, you have to sign the envelope that is your ballot. And so every step, there is a signature for that ballot. When the election is concluded at 8 o'clock, it's just starting for us. Even though we're counting those ballots, we have about 2 weeks, maybe 2.5, 3 weeks, where we go through and certify the election. If you look at our website on election night, we say unofficial results. Those don't become official until the election is certified, and it's certified at the same way and the same time all around the state. And what we do is we go through the poll books and we count up the number of people who've signed in for a ballot. We count the number of ballots we have. If those don't match for some reason, we find out why. We go through the early ballots and the vote by mail ballots the same way, signatures, ballots. We don't know whose ballots goes with whose signatures, but we make sure the numbers all match up and we have a verifiable voter for every ballot that we have.
Great, thank you.
It's
Okay.
kind of involved out, but
It
I
is, it
get
is.
too deep.
Right, well, no, people want to know these days.
Yeah.
Exactly, right, okay. Are there other security and integrity procedures that, in general, that you want to mention?
Well, anytime we touch a ballot at the Election Commission, it's two people and they're of two different party affiliations. Democrat, Republican, nonpartisan is a party affiliation. You can't have two nonpartisans. You'd have to have a nonpartisan and a Democrat or a Republican or a Libertarian or now the Legal Marijuana Now Party.
Right.
So those are who we are these days.
And do you have contact with other security, CISA, and
Yes.
other organizations?
We know all of them quite well.
Okay.
We attend seminars on a regular basis with the FBI. The FBI will give us notifications. CISA, ISAC, Homeland Security. There are all kinds of security procedures, some of them that we were told not to talk about so
Okay.
people don't pick up on them, but
Right.
trust me, they're out there.
Right.
There are people that can see incoming, see attacks on election commissions. We were told by the FBI after the 2018 elections that we were one of the few states that there was not an identifiable attempt to breach the voter files.
Okay.
So we feel
All right.
pretty good about how we handled that to keep
Right.
that from happening.
Excellent. And you print your own ballots, correct?
We do, Douglas County does everything in-house. We
Okay.
program our counting machines, we print our own ballots, The ballots can't be just, it has to be a special paper. You can't just go out to Office Depot and pick up a ream of paper and print a ballot on it. Our machines wouldn't read it. You have to have the timing codes. You have to have the ballot formatted to match the codes. There are a lot of steps, and we do it all internally, so we're not relying on anyone else. Now, other counties, smaller, do rely on outside vendors who are all secure, bonded. They're not going to, there are a lot of steps involved to keep it secure.
I'm sure. And then I assume there are rules on how long you keep the ballots and where they are. And
we keep all of the ballots 22 months. We keep the ballots, the envelopes, ballot requests, poll books, anything relating to an election, we keep for 22 months after the election. So with our new facility, which is great, we actually have those downstairs right underneath us, and then 2 months before an election, we can take the old ones out and securely shred them, and then make room for the new batch.
right. So that's what you're doing right now, right?
Exactly.
Okay, good. Well, thank you. And again, if people have questions, they know where to go now.
Just
right.
444 vote.
Okay, excellent. So as part of the league, we always get these frequently asked questions. Can I just go through a couple with you?
Sure.
Okay, so what if a person is away at college and wants to vote?
That's a simple one. They can use the same vote by mail procedure as any other registered voter on the forms, and on even if they write it on that cocktail napkin, they can say the address I would like my ballot sent to, or mailing address as opposed to the address that they're registered at. Now, the registration address will dictate what ballot they get, but we will mail it to anywhere, whether they're a snowbird in November and they've gone to Arizona or Florida, or if they're a college student, they just put that address that they want the ballot mailed to.
Excellent, great. What if someone is without a home and wants to vote?
They can register at either our election office or in other counties at the election offices. If they would choose to, they can also use settlement houses like Sienna Francis or Stevens House, Stevens Center, Open Door Mission. They can register at those locations as well. They will get the ballot for that area. So if someone were to register for our office, they would basically be in Legislative District 20. If they were South Omaha at the Stevens Center. So if they have a preference as to where they would like to have a local vote, but it must be within one of those. They can't you can't register at a business address, or it has to be either a home address or our office or a shelter.
Okay, great. And a person in jail, can a person in jail vote?
Yes, in fact, I believe we work with the League of Women Voters.
Yes.
As long as they are not a convicted felon, they still have their voting rights. If they are incarcerated, they can fill out a request for a ballot. We will mail them a ballot into the correctional facility, and then they return it the same way. They would have to either mail it back or have someone bring it out and put it in a drop box for them, which is acceptable. And then we go through the same process of verifying who they are, that they're eligible. And all of our voter registrations go through a felon database to make sure that ex-felons have completed their service and meet the guidelines. So that is an acceptable form of voting.
Right, and in Nebraska, if you completed your term and are 2 years off paper, you're absolutely, you should vote. There's no reason not to vote, right?
The only impediment to voting is registering, and as soon as you're 2 years off paper, which means no more commitment to the state, After 2 years being off paper, you're eligible to register, and
Right.
then you can vote.
And please do, right?
And
Exactly.
if you give us the wrong date on that, we will find it. We will not, sometimes we make mistakes. We try not to, but if you you would receive a letter that said you appear on our felon list. Give us a call if you think that's an error, and we will check. We have found people. We don't keep the records, and some of the people that do keep those records don't keep them in as good a shape as we'd like.
So you want to work with people. Your plan is to work with people to let as many people vote as
If people are eligible to vote, which
Are
is a very
eligible.
simple eligibility, we
Good.
try to make sure that we find that eligibility. We don't try to keep
Great.
people from voting. We try to find ways
Great.
that they are eligible.
Great, excellent. Well, Chris, thank you so much for being here. I think we have covered a lot of ground tonight and answered a lot of people's questions, I hope, but we'll have people call you or go
Okay.
to your website if they have any other questions. We appreciate your time in this very busy season, but hope you can come back again.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Cindy.
All right. Well, I would like to remind our viewers that the League of Women Voters is putting together its nonpartisan voters guide again this year. It will be published in the Reader and El Perico and be available at local libraries and at the Election Commission. Of course, all polling place and individual ballot and candidate information will be available online for every voter at vote411.org. I am Cindy Glissman for the League of Women Voters, encouraging you to be informed on issues and candidates, and at election time, be ready to go vote, Omaha.